Good morning and welcome back to Community Connections. We're coming at you on a different day for the month of May. We're going to be live in studio on Wednesdays from 11:15 to 11:45. So we thank you for adjusting with us. I'm Dawn Lowe, Executive Director with the Greensburg-Decatur County Chamber of Commerce. For the month of April, we have actually seen a lot of exciting things happening with the Chamber. We've got a lot of new members, and I'd like to shout them all out one by one here. So stick with me here. One of the things that we talk about with our memberships, these are people who are not only investing in their businesses, their organizations, but they're also investing in the business economy of Decatur County and giving back through that membership. So we definitely want to shout them out and thank them for their membership. We'll start off with Country Financial Brinson Agency. Next up, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, Mike Monroe. Force Construction. Force Construction is based out of Columbus, Indiana, and is now part of our Economic Development Corporation, Greensburg-Decatur County. CRF Roofing and Restoration. Let's pause here for just a quick second. CRF Roofing and Restoration is coming in with a gold executive level membership. So that gold level will take them a little bit above and beyond in support, and in return they're going to be attending a lot of our events. We've got the Ag Day Breakfast, as you know. We've got the Women in Business Conference coming up, the 40th annual golf outing that will be held on August the 1st, and our annual dinner. So we're excited to see Cortland and his crew with us throughout all of those events and into the future years. So thank you, CRF Roofing and Restoration. Also coming on board with a gold executive level membership is El Chile Poblano, authentic Mexican restaurant. If you have not taken your family there, highly recommend it. We go there quite often, so they know us on a first name basis there. El Chile Poblano, again, coming in with that gold level membership. And we had an upgrade in the month of April. So a lot of times we will have members come on at just a basic level membership, and they will look back at the year and say, you know what, we have been really involved. We're super excited. We're attending a ton, and we might as well just bump up. So Serve Pro of Madison, Versailles, and Lawrenceburg is coming in with a gold level membership. So thank you to all of those chamber members. We have seen a plethora of ribbon cuttings. Want to congratulate Dog-Eared Pages, Kingdom Dugouts, the Arc of Decatur County, Tree City Craft Retreats, Candyland Creations, and more, and the Decatur County Youth Sports Complex. Congratulations to all of those businesses and organizations on new ownership, change in location, business enhancement, upgrades, you name it. We are thriving here in Decatur County. And then coming up, we have a ribbon cutting on May the 16th for Edward Jones, Nicole Derby. That is 115 East Main Street, located right in the heart of the downtown district, right beside the 1822 alley. So if you can join us on May the 16th, we're going to welcome Nicole to Greensburg. That ribbon cutting will happen at 11 a.m. Also coming up, we have our second HR Power Hour of 2025. That is slated for May 15th from 11:30 to 1. More information on the ribbon cutting I just mentioned, the HR Power Hour, and all of our upcoming events can be found on our website, www.greensburgchamber.com. And now in studio, I'd like to welcome Jeremy Stallsmith. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
Doing all right. Okay, so Big Dog Sound. You are it. You are Big Dog Sound. Explain to our listeners what that company is.
So Big Dog Sound, we are a mobile DJ service, and we also do some sound reinforcement as needed. But we take care of entertaining people and families here in Decatur County and surrounding counties on their special days.
I love it. We actually used your services at last year's annual dinner, had an absolutely fantastic time. Music was on point. One of the funny things that I remember from that evening, we had to go through the business portion of the annual dinner. And right following, I think it was the annual meeting portion. So per our bylaws, we do that annual meeting. We wrapped it up. We turned it over to you for entertainment. And the very first song out of the gate was Taking Care of Business.
Oh, yeah. You gotta.
It cracked me up. I was like, that was on point.
Yeah,
Not requested, but you were
always,
definitely on it.
Always thinking of what song can fit in certain situations. doing some dances and stuff, like doing walk down the aisles for prom king and queen. I'll throw dancing queen on there for the girls. There's always a special song for each individual moment.
What a fun business. How did you even get into the world of DJing?
So that's a long story. But I started DJing. I first met a guy at a teen camp back in 1999. So I was like 15, 16 years old. And he just had some basic Radio Shack stuff. And it was something to fill time. When you had breaks and sessions, we'd just play some music. And I think we had 2 little Walkman CD players that we were using to
that's
to
a
go
word
back.
from the past, Walkman.
Yeah, that we were using to go back and forth. So that's what got me started with, learning how songs go back and forth together and understanding that. And then I had a great love of music from when I was in high school in the marching band. And I had a great band director who always took time with us to help us understand, rhythms and beats and great mentorship from him. So, and then when I got to college, I already knew how to DJ. I'd been playing with the stuff and nobody else on campus knew how to. And the school actually had some equipment. It was called the Red Lounge or something like that. And they had, a couple mixers and a couple CD players, and I knew how to use it. So they're like, hey, you can go use it however you need to. And then the sororities and fraternities were like, hey, can you DJ our dances? And so I did it for beer money, like $50 for a DJ, which was, super cheap. Like to get a DJ for $50, but like I wasn't my equipment. I didn't know. And, just starting out and learning.
But a business was born out of that.
That's where it started. So, and one of the financial advisors came and asked me to DJ a wedding. I'd never DJ'd a wedding before. I was nervous, and it was a huge room. I didn't have enough equipment. Like it was, new to me of trying to figure out all of that stuff, the logistics of how sound works. So I've just worked it and built it from the ground up. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Completely interesting. So really that whole side of what you do is self-taught.
Yeah.
Essentially.
A lot of self-taught. I mean, I've read some books and, I've watched some YouTube videos and stuff, even, when YouTube was, just starting out and all the forums. But yeah, a lot of self-taught, trying to figure out, what goes good together, because not everything goes good together. And even get to a wedding and somebody will come up and say, hey, can you play, Leonard Skinner? And I'm like, I don't think that's going to be really danceable. It's going to fit the vibe. So we'll see what we can do. But that's, if you ever hear a DJ tell you, we'll see what you can do, that's code for it's not coming.
Perfect.
And then after college, I started I started working with the guy who had all the equipment at the Teen Youth Center. He hired me as his DJ to start doing school dances and weddings and stuff like that. And then I went off with my brother. A couple years after that, my brother was like, hey, you can do it yourself. I'll just help, flip the bill, because I was a young college kid and didn't have any money, obviously. And then in 2008, Honda, said I work for Honda as my real job. They were like, hey, can you come to Indiana? So shortly after that, I bought my brother out of the business and moved it over here and started from nothing and just a couple speakers and some lights, and we've built what we have today.
So you did not grow up in this area?
No, I am from Urbana, Ohio, which is in the middle of central Ohio nowhereness, and grew up in a cornfield outside of there. So yeah,
you should feel right at home here then. We've got those two.
You do, yeah. Kind of an area like a North or South Decatur where, there's just nothing out there. I had pig fields on one side and cornfields on the left side of the high school, so yeah.
Well, you should feel right at home.
Right at home, yeah.
I love it. Well, you were talking about all the setup. You were talking about doing some sound reinforcement. There's a lot of equipment that goes into it. What does a typical setup take? What does that entail?
So that's funny. Typical setup, there is no typical setup, because there's a lot of things that have to happen based off of the space that you're in.
Sure.
Depending on if it's a large space, you might need extra speakers in one spot compared to another, and also speaking. If you have speaking going on, a majority of speaking, you want to have different speaker placement. Also, the type of event. So yeah, we did the Chamber of Commerce dinner, and that's got a lot of talking points. Mm-hmm. A wedding, your talking points are very low, and people want to hear the speeches, right? So everybody's quiet for the speeches. When you're at a corporate style event and you're doing your spiel,
there's a little bit
more chatter, because they're here for the food.
What do you mean? Everybody's really focused.
I understand your thoughts.
Yes.
And then also, what's the physical limitations of the venue?
Sure.
Power is always a concern, where you're running power, where you can put cables. We've actually worked on some wireless gear so we can run speakers to the opposite side of the room wirelessly to help boost the sound in certain areas. And we actually had to use that at your event because we wanted the people in the back of the room to be able to hear just as well as people at the front of the venue.
Right.
So, and then local laws are also a consideration.
Really? Okay. Tell us about those.
So I haven't ran into it so much here in Decatur County, but there are some venues that I've done near the Cincy or Indy area that's like at a certain time, volume has to go below 30 decibels. Like it's got to be quiet so you're not disturbing the neighborhood.
Gotcha.
And if there's an issue, either the venue gets fined or they'll even come find the DJ. So like understanding what the limitations are of the area that you're working in.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So definitely something that you can't just like throw together on a whim. It takes a little bit of research. It takes some foresight, some forethought.
Yeah, and really good communication skills with the venue owner or people, the photographers who've worked in the area. Like they understand what works a little better in this area, or know the pain points that they've seen other people have in their areas.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've mentioned weddings. We've talked about our annual dinner last year in 2024. What are some other events that you would typically DJ?
Oh, we've done weddings. We do birthdays, school dances. That's a big one. We just did North Decatur's prom last weekend.
Oh, nice.
That was a good time. We've done car shows. I've done a funeral.
Interesting.
That's it was a celebration of life, but we had audio and some music out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a good time. I've done sporting events. I also announce for some of the local sports teams. As needed. The swim team, I announce for them. I've done class reunions, and then we do the corporate stuff because there's plenty of things. But Hospital Foundation, we have their event coming up this weekend, so we take care of things like that. We do Chamber of Commerce. We'll do company Christmas parties as people need them. We do a lot of nonprofit stuff too. Wine and Roses.
Oh yeah, New Directions.
We help New Directions out with Wine and Roses, make sure they have speakers set up and audio and all the stuff to help make sure their event goes well. We do benefits for anybody who comes and asks for us. If I have availability, I'll make sure that we try to help people in need. And a lot of the benefits we do give me $50 for gas. Like we want to make sure your event goes off well without a hitch. You guys have a big profit that you're going for to make sure that you can take care of your needs. So we don't need to be part of that. We're just here to help you guys out. So
so kind, so thoughtful of you.
Yeah. And then anything to support kids. We are a family of 4, so kids are big for us. We do the walkathon for Greensburg Elementary School. Champions Together, we've done stuff for them. Mila's Mission, we do the Casket Cup over in Batesville.
Okay.
I take all of my speakers out and we DJ for 8 hours while the kids are playing soccer. The kids are bebopping around playing soccer, and the parents the parents really enjoy it because watching little kids play soccer is fine, but you also have gaps when your kids aren't playing soccer that you got a little background music to just help keep things going.
Yeah. I like it. So talk a little bit about the structure of the business. You mentioned you're a family of 4. How many employees? How large is this company?
1.5 employees.
Okay.
So
looking at it.
Yeah. I am the sole guy that goes out. I do take my older kids. I have David, who is 13, getting ready to turn 14. He's in the junior high. He goes out with me and helps. He knows how to set lights up. He's getting ready to learn how to start setting sound up. Eventually, in the next year or 2, I want him to start doing announcing so he can actually go out and do it himself.
Cool.
And then my second son, Dalton, who is 12, he's starting to take a little interest. And, I pay him a little money to go out and DJ with me to help out. They've got a bank account now, so they're starting to save some money.
What a great way to learn.
Yeah.
That's some great hands-on experience. And they're showing interest, then I would assume.
Yeah, it was David has gone out with me the longest. We had a long time there of, he had to, hey, I got everything set up. Can I go sit in the room over there and play video games? And I've actually had to have conversations with yes, you can play video games, but let's make sure we're out of sight. So people aren't thinking you're just lacking around. I have no problems with you, entertaining yourself.
Interesting.
Because some of these events are 6, 8, 10 hours long.
Yeah. Yeah. But what a great way for them to learn, and what a great role model that you're being for him, for both of the boys, and them getting to see just a wide variety of different event styles throughout the communities.
Different event styles, even just the different cultures of weddings, because not every wedding is the same.
Right.
Some weddings have a little more adult beverages than others, and people get a little crazier and more wilder, and even ceremonies. We had a ceremony down in North Vernon once, and the guy ended the ceremony. Now, by the powers invested in me by Google and the internet, I now pronounce you my husband and wife. So just different things that they've seen.
Picking up on.
And, sometimes after the event venue or after the event, I'm like, hey, let's talk about what happened. So, what you saw, because not everything's, peachy keen. Like sometimes they'll see something that's like, oh, that's a little different, and so we'll talk about it and start growing their knowledge of the world is a different place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've talked a little bit about, you mentioned being at different venues all the way from Indianapolis to Cincinnati. What is your radius that you will travel, and maybe could you tell us what some of your favorite venues around Decatur County are?
Yeah. So as far as travel, I'll go anywhere if somebody was willing to pay for it.
Okay. Fair.
A couple years ago, we went all the way down to Evansville for a wedding.
Nice.
We DJ'd a wedding here locally, and the father of the bride-to-be was like, you were so great. We love the music. Will you come down to Evansville and DJ? And I'm like, oh, that's a big trip for DJing.
Yeah.
But we made the trip. We've gone to Cincinnati. We've gone to Indy. I'll go back home. I DJ all my cousins' weddings at home. That's their wedding gift.
Nice.
I'll come
sweet.
and DJ.
Yep.
Yeah, pay me $50 for the gas, and we'll save you $1,000 for a real DJ. So here locally, there's so many great venues here in Decatur County, and Heritage Hills, one of a great venue. It's breathtaking watching a bride and groom walk down the stairs for their grand entrance, and seeing the dip right there at the middle level of the stairs and getting the kiss. And it's a great venue, and so much heritage for Decatur County and the history in it. Venue on 3, we go down there quite often. It's a great venue on the south side of the county, giving that area a place to have events, because prior to Venue on 3, there was nowhere down on that side of the county other than, you can have the community building in Westport and it's paneled walls and
Well, and interestingly enough, our annual dinner was at Venue on 3 that you DJ'd, and a lot of our attendees had never been to that venue, so that was fun to get to showcase.
And
Venue on 3, Isla Catone and her family and what they've done down there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful work that they've done there. The bar is beautiful, just the woodwork and the tin work they have on there. High Point events, out here at the Orchard, you get that nice vineyardy, orchardy style wedding, and people walking in the large grassy area and the reflection off of the lake out there. It just makes for a beautiful sunset. And it's just amazing out there. And probably the last one of my favorites here, Into the Woods.
Brand new,
great venue. It's that fairy tale cozy feeling. You've got all the trees around you. They've got lights out in the trees that they plug in at night. It's just that that fairy tale wedding venue that they have out there. So those would be my favorites in the county.
We love that all of our venues are unique in their own special way, and so it kind of depends on what your style is and what your purpose is for whatever the event is that you're hosting. But we're very blessed in Decatur County, for sure. Well, you've mentioned weddings and the boys seeing some stuff that might be different or might not be typical. What are some of the trends that you're seeing as you've been DJing these different events?
So we'll go over the good trends, some of the fun, good things that we're seeing. We did a wedding this January. They were a no alcohol wedding, which is perfectly fine. It happens quite often. And they still wanted to have a cocktail hour, so they did a coffee bar cocktail hour.
Neat.
They had 4 or 5 coffees, 6 or 7 creamers, hot chocolate, hot teas. It was cold outside, so it kind of fit in really well. But it was just a really a nice touch to how do you fill this hour that they're taking pictures, because they did the wedding ceremony and the reception all in the same building. So
Okay.
that's a difficult point that you have to work with sometimes.
Right, that transition.
That transition period.
Sure.
And what do you do with people for an hour while, or sometimes even 2 hours while the bride and groom and other people are going to take pictures, or the bus ride that's always, or I've even seen tractors. So like
yes.
different things. We had a wedding here in county where they had a Grater's ice cream truck
Oh,
come and serve ice cream. Yeah,
Amazing.
different,
Yeah.
like something
Yeah.
that you wouldn't typically see. Like
Love
they
it.
had the cake too, but after the wedding or during the reception, like, hey, let's go out and get some ice cream. And everybody was having fun, good ice cream. We even saw the wedding I did down in Evansville. They had specialty ice creams, like the kind of ice cream you get at Carriage on the Square or out at Hillbilly Corner. They had little pints in a big freezer that you could just go over and get it. And then they had toppings you could add to it and make your own little ice cream sundae right there while you're sitting there enjoying the wedding. Again, cake is always at a wedding, but the specialty desserts, that you
Yeah.
add on top of it are fun. And then the late night snack is becoming a big thing.
okay.
We had roller dogs,
What are roller dogs?
gas station dogs.
Okay.
Guy
Oh,
worked.
on rollers,
worked.
I got it,
The
I
guy
got it.
worked for a Love's gas station. He brought in the big roller from the Love's.
I love
Had it on a big table. They were rolling hot dogs.
Yeah.
Everybody was going over and getting hot dogs, putting ketchup and mustard on them.
Genius.
Yeah, it just
I bet
something.
it went over super well.
There was a couple of old ladies like, those are roller dogs. Like, those are gas station dogs. But, like, the guys were all, like, in heaven. Like,
Everybody loved it. Yep.
yep, we've had Skyline
Okay.
at a wedding. Anything that was going to help soak up some of the beverages that people have been
Sure.
drinking,
Sure.
even as simple as sandwiches. Lunch meat sandwiches, a deli tray.
Yeah.
Just something to help people get back into a better state prior to leaving the venue for the evening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What are your favorite events to DJ? Do you have a favorite niche?
I love doing the sporting events and the dances at schools and stuff where kids are having a good time. But weddings are great too. Weddings just come with a bit of challenges that you have to work with. And so I love doing weddings, but again, weddings also have the challenges that you have to face and be prepared. And it's not always an easy answer for that.
Are there things, so as you're talking about these hurdles and challenges, are there things that we as potential customers or clients could be thinking about? Like, what are some of those hurdles that we need to kind of be aware of?
So some of the hurdles that we've seen, and there's lots of them, but limiting the playlist of a DJ is a big hurdle. We did a wedding a year or two ago where they're like, we don't want any slow songs.
Okay.
Because they're like, we don't want to stop partying. Well, to me as a DJ, I sometimes use those slow songs to help keep the party going because that gives time for you to go get another drink. And then, I have time to slow it down, let everybody take a breath because dancing's hard work.
It's exercise
it's
for sure.
It's exercise.
Yes.
So going for 3 or 4 hours straight of
Yeah.
exercise, like that's a marathon.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes it's nice to put in that little walking section like you would do if you
Gotcha.
were running.
Sure.
Also, I've had people say, we don't want any of the standard songs. We don't want any of the standard party songs. So taking out the Cupid Shuffle and the Cha-Cha slides and the electric slides because they're played at every wedding. Well, they're played at every wedding because people like to dance to those.
Yeah,
and that
gotcha.
helps the DJ get people on the floor.
Engaged, right.
Once I engage people and get them on the floor, I use those songs sparingly, but I still need to have time to get them on the floor so I can start seeing what they want to listen to and respond to. And I even had a wedding that said, we want 70s crooners only. Yeah.
Very specific.
And that place was that wedding. The guest came up and said, can we play some more modern music? Can we start playing? And I finally had to say, you have to go talk to the bride because this was the bride's request. Like, I have to do what the people who are paying me, I have to do what they want. Like, you're not writing these checks. They're like, well, we'll give you a tip. I'm like, that's fine and dandy, but my contract is with this person. Like,
Sure.
so, and then the undanceable request. We were talking like Leonard Skinner. You get every once in a while people will come up and just ask for a random request that is just there are songs that I can work in like country requests are usually the slower songs that I can use, so I can usually work with that. But when they come up and ask for something that is like, can you play Stairway to Heaven? Like, nah, nobody really wants to listen to that at a wedding. Like, just trying to keep the vibe going.
Right.
Music has, it's BPM, beats per minute, so I work really good at looking at, what my beats per minutes are. If I have rules that I'm teaching my boys, like when you are jumping from a high beats per minute to a low beats per minute, you've got to stop and talk to help break up, because if you're driving 50 miles an hour and hit the brakes, you get that that seatbelt hitting you.
Right.
And so you have to figure out how to break up that seatbelt. So, and then when things don't go as they're planned.
Okay.
So my job is to make sure your event, nobody knows that it's not working right.
Right.
So like we had an event where the caterer forgot half the food.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's a big thing,
Wow.
right? Like,
Yeah.
so
Huge.
how do you bounce and be flexible to, normally you come in, you eat dinner, but, we were like, oh, we're going to jump around. We're going to go ahead and do the speeches before dinner. And the people were, a few people knew what was going on just because, but like, you've got to keep, you don't want guests to start leaving because they're getting bored because they've listened to, love songs for an hour and a half. And if you don't have anything for people to do, then they're like, well, I'm going to go home and eat ice cream or whatever. So,
so being flexible and being able to shift immediately.
Huge, because we've had events where they're doing an outdoor ceremony. We're starting to look at the clouds coming in, like, all right, what's the plan? What's the time? Like, it's going to take me 30 minutes to set up in a new location. So what's going to be our plan if it's going to start raining, and understanding that, because if it starts raining, I stop everything.
Yeah.
I have to shut it off. I have to protect my stuff, my investment.
Sure.
So, and I've even gotten rained on before, and ruined equipment because people weren't very flexible, and they're like, and then once the event's over, they're like, oh, well, all right, and you don't hear from them again. So I have to protect my business and my company and my stuff, and that's a hard thing to work with, and people want, what they imagine. I've always imagined walking down the field in the wedding. Well, that's fine and dandy, but there's lightning coming. Like,
right.
we gotta keep people safe too.
Sure.
And probably the last difficulty I've had, one of the bigger ones, is not finding family members for key events. Father-daughter dance, right? I had a father.
Oh, like they go missing, like they're not readily.
I had
available.
a father passed out in a bridal suite because he's.
You've probably seen a lot.
I've seen a lot, so or I try really hard to make sure I keep the photographer and the videographer like all aligned of who's coming up, what's happening, and talk to the next person who's going to be out there for formal dance. Way ahead of time, just so we can make sure, hey, where these things are happening. If you need to go to the restroom, now's the time. Let's get it done.
Right, you become a coordinator.
Yeah, you coordinate a lot of activities.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You want to make sure that photography is really expensive. I want to make sure they're getting their value for their photographer. Right. Videographers, very expensive. Caterers, very, very expensive. Everybody has to line up, and even if you have an event planner, the event planner usually stops once you get in the door because they're there. Like, they don't have any other concerns. Like, you're married. We're in the door. the event planner's primary focus is on the ceremony itself and what the reception looks like. Not so much the details of what happens at the reception.
Gotcha.
So I try to take up some of those portions of making sure your reception at a wedding, it goes off without a hitch. Yeah. I want this to be a memorable thing, not just for you, but for your guests as well, and for your guests to say, I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're hitting on a ton of things that not only are you having to think about, but the person that is holding the event should be thinking about. A lot of coordination, a lot of last minute shifts. It's going to bring up the question, what does this type of service cost? So can you talk a little bit about that piece of it?
So service, we have rates that we do depending on the venue. Venue is very important because it tells us how many speakers we're going to have to put out for an event. If we're having a ceremony, ceremony's got a different cost as well. Just because if I have a ceremony, I definitely have to bring a second person with me. So David definitely has to come with me, or Dalton, or even my father-in-law have come out with me because they have to tear down the ceremony, why I go take care of entertaining people inside. I don't get to stop the show just because I have stuff that has to get torn down. And again, weather could come in, or somebody could mess with my stuff, so we want to make sure we get that stuff put away. And then length of event is a big key factor.
Sure.
So we set a flat rate for 4 hours, $600 for the first 4 hours. Whether there's some additional cost depending on the venue space, just because of speaker needs or some of the extra work we have to do. And then we have an additional fee past that 4 hours. Now, if you only plan for 3 hours, you got to pay me for 4 hours, because that's just our flat rate, because
Gotcha.
it takes time to come out and
Absolutely.
get everything set up. So that's for a wedding. For other venues or for other events, we work with a budget and try to find what's necessary and what's needed for those events.
Yeah.
So based on things I have to set up, do I have to set up lights, no lights? Like, there's so many variables for the business. Am I doing the announcing? Am I not doing the announcing? Am I just,
Right.
so.
A lot of coordination.
Yeah, a lot of
So if
coordination.
somebody is interested, we're coming up on about 5 minutes left in the program. If somebody is interested in seeking you out for a future service, where can they look to find you?
So Facebook's facebook.com/Big Dog Sound, and it's DAWG. Long story with that. We were trying to think of a name, and my brother had a big dog, so he was like, "Oh, let's do Big Dog Sound," and we looked it up, and there was, I think, another big DOG in Maryland or something like that. He's like, and my niece was 15 at the time. She's like, "You should do dog. Like, what's up, dog?" So it has just stuck for
The
20
name was
years.
born, yeah.
So Facebook's a good place to hit us, or you can call me. 812-614-7811 is the number. We do have a website, it's bigdogsound.com, but it just takes you straight to Facebook,
Okay.
just for the ease.
Okay. So where do you see this business going in the future?
I would love for my kids to carry it on. I'm starting to see some activity with them where they're starting to enjoy it and David's starting to think about what songs can go with each other and ways to make it more creative and exciting. For now, it's me. Like, I hope I have another 10, 15 years left of being able to move around and pick up heavy stuff. But yeah, I'd like to see the kids grow it up and help them. It's helped us be a good family to be able to support us, and we do vacations, and that's what we use this money for. It's our fun money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and a great plan
Yeah.
plan for you guys to, as you said, this is not your full-time position. So great that there's that supplemental.
Yeah, and letting them learn even just troubleshooting techniques, like when there's a problem, what's some creative ways to solve that problem. And I even let them help pick out new equipment that we're getting. Like, hey, here's like 3 or 4 lights. What looks cool to you? Like, what looks like fun? Or last year we bought a new lighting rig because ours was getting 10 years old and you have to replace that stuff. And I said, hey, let's look at this. There's 3 or 4 different types that we can use. What are the musts that we need to have? What are the ones that we want? Here, and we picked one. And when we got it to the house, he and I spent a day in the garage figuring out how to set it up and use it and
Very neat.
light placement. So
Yeah, very neat.
Yeah.
Well, Big Dog Sound is a member of the Greensburg-Decatur County Chamber. I want to thank you for your membership and for your investment, not only in your own business, but of the entire business community. You had mentioned that you can be found on Facebook or by calling 812-614-7811. One final question.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite song?
Oh, there's not one favorite song. It depends what kind of mood you're in. Like, if I'm feeling a real good country mood, I like a little International Harvester, like.
Okay.
But it just, if I get my old '90s pop, I'll listen to Ice Ice Baby, and making sure I keep my eclectic mode up because every event needs a different mix.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, Jeremy. It's been super interesting to learn a little bit more about your business, what you do, and how the family is all involved with that. So thank you for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having us.
I am going to pipe in before you let
Yeah.
him go because he's not giving himself enough credit in the community because he will be at anything that is. You've been at Veterans Day. He jumps in.
Memorial Day.
Memorial
yeah.
Day. With Power of the Past needed help this last summer because they had a change in
Oh,
venue.
they
because
called
of
me
rain.
2 hours before the parade and said, "We need speakers. Can you help us out?"
So thoughtful.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I got nothing going on. I'll just pop over there." And we got it set up, and we had a big event. Like the parade went off without a hitch. I think the guy that normally did sound for them, I think some of his equipment died like at the last minute, and they're like, "Can you come help us out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." Yeah.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, good. Thank you for adding that in there. Definitely one of the things that we have kind of focused on over the course of 2024 and rolling into 2025 is talking about that community involvement and how this community, hands down, I would put it up against any community in the United States. They come to the rescue. They help. They support. So thank you for being an integral piece of that.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been Community Connections. I'm Dawn Lowe with the Greensburg-Decatur County Chamber of Commerce. We'll talk to you next time.